Hi there, it's Miss Mason here. Remember, in our read aloud, we heard the word enormous. Listen for the word enormous while I read part of the read aloud you heard before. Deep underwater, there are all kinds of animals living in the ocean. There are enormous whales and squid and beautiful sea turtles. I have to swim carefully underwater to avoid the stinging tentacles of the jellyfish. Do you know what enormous means? Enormous means really, really big, or huge, or gigantic. Enormous means huge, gigantic, or really big. I'm going to say some things, and I want you to show me a thumbs up if it's enormous, or a thumbs down if it's not enormous or tiny. I want you to show me a thumbs up if it is enormous, or a thumbs down if it's not enormous. Is a whale enormous? Yes, we learned that in our story that a whale is enormous. So you should be giving me a thumbs up because whales are enormous. What about an insect that is called an ant? Is an ant enormous or not enormous? An ant is not enormous. An ant is small or tiny. Very good. What about a squid? Is a squid enormous or not enormous? Show me your thumbs. A squid is enormous. Remember, we heard that fact in our story that whales and squid are enormous. So you should be giving me a thumbs up. Great job. What about a paper clip? We use that to hold our papers together. Is a paper clip enormous or not enormous? A paper clip is not enormous. It is actually pretty tiny. So we should be giving it a thumbs down. Very good. What about a tree? Is a tree enormous or not enormous? Show me your thumb. A tree is enormous. Great job. Some trees, when they're first starting out, are very tiny, so they're not enormous. But the older and bigger the trees get, they can be pretty enormous. What about a school bus? Is a school bus enormous or not enormous? A school bus is enormous. Think about how small your truck or your car is compared to an enormous school bus. It is enormous. What about a bead from your bracelet? If any of you have any bracelets or something that you have that is a bead, is that enormous or not enormous? Not enormous. A bead is very tiny, so it is not enormous. And our last question, the ocean. Is the ocean enormous or not enormous? It's enormous. It is a big, enormous body of water that has lots of plants and animals that live in and out of it. Enormous means really, really, really big. But if something is really, really, really small, we say that it is tiny. Tiny is the opposite of enormous. Enormous means really, really big, and tiny means really, really small. Very good job learning all about the word enormous with me today. I'll see you next time.